So now I'm starting to record. So good afternoon, morning, night, whatever you are hearing me. You can see I'm now not in my house. I am in the university. And today we are going to continue with the EPIC framework, the second part, which I said to you in the last part that it was going to be our next topic. So let's go for it. Give me a second. Let me share my screen. So I am doing it. So last time uh, we left our presentation in the conclusions of the North American region. So now we are moving forward to East Asia. East Asia, it's comprised of China, big one, Mongolia, which we are not going to consider, North and South Korea. We are only considering South Korea, as North Korea is not really big um, economy for us to consider, Japan, and we are also considering India. India is not selected here, but we will consider it as many of you will import things from there. So what about the region? The region is really convoluted. It had thousands of years of isolation. In fact, from the beginning of the industrial age, the region was not very into the global economy for one reason, because they had conflicts, cultural conflicts with the Western countries. So we can see in this picture, it's an old picture of some of the economies dividing China for themselves. So you can see how the princess of the Queen of England, one of the most important militaries from Germany, and Italy and Japan, they are dividing China, so China was not really into it. So they just came out of their isolation in the 19th century, and we are going to talk about their economies, their infrastructure, their politics, and their competence, as we did with the previous section. So they have specialized in low-cost manufacturing and raw materials. It started in Japan and Taiwan. Then they did it in South Korea, but nowadays the most common place for low-cost manufacturing is China. And the countries, this is a really heterogeneous region where each country is pretty different from the other. So here are some of the flags of the countries, and we will try to combine all the information of the countries of this region and talk about how their economy works, the political landscape, and so on and so on. So, the Japanese constitution guarantees freedom of speech, religion, and press. They have an emperor, and it's just a symbol, but it has no power in the economy or in the politic. South Korea is very close to Japan. They guarantee freedom of speech, religion, and press. Sorry, it says religion. Let me fix it. Religion. Then there it goes. Now it's fixed. China, it's really different from South Korea and Japan. They are not that open-minded. They are controlled by the Communist Party, and the citizens of China doesn't have much liberties. Hong Kong is a free republic, quotation marks, because China is starting to hinder control over Hong Kong. So they are like in a transition. The world is waiting to see if they are going to be a free republic as they are now, or if they are going to be one of China's uh, other province, to say it in a matter of way. Taiwan, It's also in dispute with the Chinese government. In fact, some people know Taiwan as South China. So yeah, this at the moment Taiwan is democratic, but it's not clear how the future will develop in the country. North Korea is isolated; it's not taken into account. Not too much exports or imports, so don't worry. And India will be included as it is a really important trading partner in Colombia, as we have a lot of pharmaceuticals, and most, as the girls that work with Humax Pharmaceuticals can relate, almost all of the raw materials come from India. So let's start with economy. China, A. What is the advantages of China in their economy? They have a really strong GDP and growth. They have flexible labor cost. It means it is easy to hire and fire people. The population is growing really fast, so they can spend money, and they have a strong balance of trade. They export a lot more than they import, even though they are the second importer in the world, second to USA, but that works for them. What are their weaknesses? The population is becoming old, and the currency is not that stable. The yuan, sorry, yen is for Japan. The yuan is controlled artificially, so they are maybe constructing a bubble, so it's a risk. Hong Kong, B plus. It's like the middleman between China and the world, so some things are negotiated in Hong Kong. They have a strong banking sector. In fact, they are a fiscal paradise, to put quotation marks. And the bad part about Hong Kong is that the population is aging and they are starting to get a high inflation. Japan, high B. They have a high GDP, and they sell high value goods like cars. There's a lot of Japan manufacturers of cars, car manufacturers, to put it bluntly. They have a strong trade balance. They export a lot more than they import, but they have a lot of problems. First, their well-being depends on how they sell their high-value goods, and it's not easy to sell cars all the time. And when the world economy is shrinking, they lose a lot of money, and the yen is starting to fluctuate a lot. South Korea, B plus, strong growth. They are becoming a really strong country in the region, and they have foreign direct investment. They are prone to FDI. But the problems with South Korea also, the population is getting older, and the foreign direct investment is much stronger in China than in South Korea. Taiwan, B plus. They export electronics, which works for them, and they have low labor costs, so they are competitive, but they depend a lot on exports. So if they don't do exports, they are in a problem. There's a big gap between rich and poor, and it could mean not so stable country in the future. And India, B plus, high GDP. It's a country that is growing really fast. It's an emerging market, and but the problem is it has a negative balance of trade. They import a lot and doesn't export that much, and the currency is not that stable. So that's another of the issues. There's Chinese port in this picture, which is not important for the presentation, but makes it more beautiful. Politics. China. I know you see that coming. China doesn't have a really good rank because the good thing for China is that labor costs are predictable. So it is easy to know how much money it will take to fire something, and it's really pro business. it doesn't defend the worker but the business. So for a foreign direct investment, love that, but they have a lot of problems. First of all, they have a lot of bureaucracy and corruption. They have high taxes, and there's political instability, as they are governed by the Communist Party, by this guy, Xi Jinping. The Winnie the Pooh image is not random. Some people to laugh about him, compare him to Winnie the Pooh. They are quite similar. And in fact, this picture is banned in China. If you put this picture in China or so on, you can go to jail. They don't have the social media platforms that we use. In fact, they don't have Twitter. They use one called Sina Weibo, and Sina Weibo is controlled by the government. So you can see how it's not that free. Well, Hong Kong used to be an A. Sorry, I just moved faster than the presentation. Hong Kong used to be an A, but now with the Chinese influence is a B. They control the corruption. They have low taxes, but China is starting to meddle in their politics. So that's a problem. Japan, A minus, the best in the region. Japan, it's prone to do business. It's really easy. There's no corruption, but there are high taxes, and the tax code is also super complex. So it means that it could scare people away because they have to pay a lot of taxes. Foreign direct investment doesn't like taxes. South Korea, well, I think nobody likes taxes. I don't like taxes, for instance. South Korea, B+. South Korea is a stable political system. They have really good laws, so it's easy to understand how to go there. But they have high corruption, and they have a rigid labor law, which means to hire and fire people is not that simple. So it scares foreign investment. Taiwan, B+. So Taiwan, the advantages of Taiwan is that it is easy to do businesses in the country, but there's a lot of corruption. So B+. And India, C+. It's the largest democracy in the world. Good. It has a stable legal framework, so the laws are easy to understand and helps you when you are from abroad. But India has a problem. It's not easy to do business. The people don't like the foreign investment, and they have complex labor laws. So it's not easy to fire and hire people again. And they have a lot of corruption and piracy. You can see a lot of counterfeited cargo from India. And it has a small tension with Pakistan. So don't be surprised if one of these days India and Pakistan start a war, and that's not good for politics. So infrastructure. China, C+. Let's put all of them so I can use the image as I will. China, C+. China is a really big country, and they have a lot of airports and seaports in the east. So Shanghai, Guangzhou, but in the other side of the country, in the west, the country is totally forgotten. So it's super rural. The roads are not pavimented. So yeah, they have a good infrastructure, but in one part, a good infrastructure, but in a part of China, and the other one is relegated. Hong Kong, the best in the region. They have world-class infrastructure, but the roads are congested sometimes. That's common for all the 6 countries, so I'll try not to repeat it much. Japan, B+, excellent infrastructure, excellent power generation. Remember that infrastructure included power, but the problem with Japan, besides the congestions in the roads, is that they are closing the nuclear reactors because of Fukushima plant accident. And that's a problem because we don't know how the nuclear, how it is going to perform without the help of the nuclear energy. South Korea, A minus, good, not as good as Hong Kong, but still good. They have an excellent rail system and they have excellent roads too, and ports. You can remember that one of the top 10 ports was in South Korea, in Busan, to be more precise. And they have the best telecommunication in Asia and one of the best telecommunications in the world. As you can see, South Korea has a lot of gamers, which uses this to their advantages. So when you are in a competence with a South Korean, the internet, his or her internet is much better than ours. So yeah, that's important for infrastructure. And on the not so good side, they don't generate power. They import the power from other countries, and that is an issue. Taiwan, B+. The transportation is world class. They have a strong nuclear powers, but the transport stations in Taipei, which is the capital city, are really difficult to perform because it is super congested. China, C-, sad face, terrible infrastructure. They have a lot of railroads, which weren't built by them. It was, in the most of the cases, built by the British, because remember, India was a colony of the British Empire. And the problem is that those railroads need an improvement. They need to be upgraded. And the ports of China, of India, are congested. This is a picture of a city of India. Transportation is chaotic. Roads are not that good. And you can see that it's not very well organized. And yeah. Competence to finish this region. China, B+. They have a huge pool of labor, which means they can hire a lot of people because there's a lot of Chinese living in China, which is good for investment. The logistics are good, not the best, but are good. But the population is starting to decline, and customs in China could be a total pain in the ass. Customs in China is super corrupt, and you might need to bribe someone to have your container advance customs in China. So B+. Hong Kong, A. Super educated people, easy to, people workforce, easy to hire. The logistics are great. They only have a little problem, and is that the population is becoming older, and that in the past, almost everyone from Hong Kong spoke English, but nowadays that is not true. So they are declining their English level. So that's a problem for Hong Kong. Japan, A-. The workforce in Japan is super skilled. They are experts in a lot of stuff, and they have top logistics. Good thing. Bad thing, the population is becoming older also well, and they are having less students because the population is getting older. Remember what we talked in the last section of the inverse pyramid. Something similar is happening to Japan. So as in the Canadian case, Japan is also asking for professionals to work in Japan. What is the problem? That in Canada, it is easier because in Canada, they speak English, but in Japan, you will need to learn Japanese, which is not that easy to learn. So sometimes this kind of interviews for highly skilled foreign professionals doesn't get that much attention. South Korea, B. South Korea, they are also super skilled, like the Chinese. They have good logistics, and the customs are really good. That's one of the reasons why the Busan port is so efficient. But the problem with South Korea is that the labor market is very rigid. It is difficult to hire and fire people. So yeah, that's the big issue in South Korea. Taiwan, A minus. So Taiwan, they also have super skilled workforce. They are educated and they have great logistics, but some sectors are having some labor shortages because there isn't people there that know that have the know-how to work in those sectors. So it hinders their competence. And India, to last but not least, B plus, the same as China. India has become a tech hub, so you can see that a lot of people that code lives in India, and it is known for that. But and also English is spoken everywhere. In fact, India has so many languages that internally the people from India even communicate themselves in English because they don't have time to learn all the English, all the languages from the other provinces. So English is spoken. But it is difficult to fire employees too much. The law is very rigid. They have absenteeism, which means sometimes people don't show up to work. And they are really good with the high skilled workers, but they are not really good with the low skilled. So yeah, that's the problem of India. So competence, the best one is in Hong Kong. I hope that this doesn't change when China starts meddling in the country. And Japan and Taiwan are close by. The worst is South Korea, but they are all above B, so nice. So let's go to the final region. I don't know if this video is of your you're liking the video or not, but I hope you are. I really took a lot of time to prepare it. So let's talk about Western Europe. Western Europe, it's really difficult to assess what is Western Europe. Sometimes you just is what is on the west side of this line, but there are plenty definitions. For instance, the United Nations define Western Europe as Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, and Monaco. But you can see that there are three very important countries that are not in Western Europe according to the United Nations. Those are United Kingdom, Spain, and Italy. Why? I don't really know. I don't really care. I don't like the United Nations. So let's say we are going to add them. There are some other countries which are not listed, like Iceland, Ireland, Andorra, Vatican City, Cyprus, and so on. But we are only going to consider some of them, like the most important ones. So, as I was telling you, for this analysis, the countries that would be considered would be France, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Sorry, there's a T missing here, which I will fix now. The Netherlands. There it goes. Yeah. The Netherlands, we are going to consider Belgium and the Netherlands as one because they are very similar. Spain, Turkey, and UK. So the political systems of all of these countries are really close from each other. They don't have many differences. But France, Germany, Italy, and Turkey have parliamentary republics. Meanwhile, the others have some kind of monarchies, which I am showing you here, but they are not super useful or they don't influence the country a lot. So they are more symbolic, like the Japanese one, but it's important to remark it. So this region has a particularity, which it's difficult to find in other parts of the world, and is that they have something called the European Union, which we are going to abbreviate by EU. The EU is a political and economic union of 27 countries. 19 of them share the same currency, the euro, and only one has decided to go away, and that was the UK with the Brexit drama and so on. It produces 18% of the world's GDP. So if they could be one economy, they would be super strong. And this is important to remark because sometimes they work as one economy. So yeah, it works for them. Yeah, there's a picture of the symbol of the European Union just for making the presentation more beautiful, but it doesn't have any implications in the text. Economy. So we are going to finish this presentation. We are going to talk about the EPIC framework in the region, EPIC economy, politics, infrastructure, and competence. And then we finish. You are free to do whatever you want in this holiday weekend. I hope you enjoy your free Monday and enjoy done assisting to class on Saturday. So let's start. France. I'm going to put all of them and then the picture. So France gets a B plus because in their advantages they have a lot of companies that leads the world in their industries, like there's one called Rocket for pharmaceuticals. There are products that are only manufactured there. In fact, one of the groups has a Rocket product in their homework as the product that they have to import to Colombia. They are a cultural axis. A lot of people love France because of what happened there in the past, and they are having a steady birth rate. They are having more and more children, which is good because we are going to see that in the rest of Europe that doesn't happen. In the negative side, they have a negative balance of trade, so they import more than they export, and the labor is really, really expensive. So Germany, B plus. I have to confess, I have a weakness for Germany. I love to be there. It's like my favorite country besides Colombia. So and it's really good almost in all of the EPIC framework. So Germany, a powerful economy, in fact, is the most powerful in the Eurozone, and they have a 1% national deficit, which means they don't owe money to a lot of people or a lot of banks. So their fiscal spending is really controlled. They are well located. We are going to see later a picture where we can see how Germany is like in the middle of Europe, so it can move their products like everywhere easily. Yeah, what are the contrasts of Germany? They have an aging population, which is not having many children, and they have low consumption. This is because the Germans are really prone to save money. This is this has been this way since the Second World War, where they were devastated. So they started saving everything. So they save a lot of money and they don't spend. So when they don't spend, the economy doesn't move that fast. And the labor is kind of expensive. Italy, B. Italy, it's the country which has the most small enterprises in the Euro community, and the economy is moving towards these small enterprises. And those small enterprises are starting to export a lot, which is good. But the problem is that they have a lot of competition from cheaper countries. So they make really good products, but they have competition abroad, which hinders their competitivity. Netherlands, B, it's the 5th country in exports, well, combining both Belgium and the Netherlands, and they have 2 really important seaports in the world. The 10 port in the top 10 seaports in the world, which is Rotterdam, and the other one is Antwerp, which in Spanish is Amberes, if it doesn't sound like the same. So Antwerp and Rotterdam are really, really good ports, but they have a lot of old people, which is not having a lot of children, so they have the inverse pyramid, as we saw in the last section. Spain. They have really good regions, really prolific regions like Catalonia, which has a lot of money, and they are working in renewable energy, and that's a business that in the future will bear fruits. But they are they just came out of an economic crisis, and that was a problem for Spain because they don't have much money to spend. So Sweden, in the just to start wrapping this up, Sweden, they have a lot of small, big companies that are for some niche of um, some niche products. Sorry, I had a lapse there. For example, IKEA. It's a really big company from Sweden, but it's not like a company for all the countries. Volvo and so on. So they like specialized in some industries. That's good, but they are not adapted to euro yet, so that's a problem in Sweden. Turkey, they are expanding really fast. They are great for foreign investment, and they are a hub to trade between the Mediterranean Sea and the Black Sea. Good, but they have a lot of currency fluctuation. Their lira is not very strong. In fact, it has devaluated a lot in the last year. So yeah, problem for Turkey. And United Kingdom, B plus, they have a really powerful network and they are the leaders in the banking sector, but in other sectors they are underdeveloped. So you can see this is a picture of the Germany economy. The government provides healthcare, so you don't have to worry about it. Healthcare is free. Um, they have been adapting, they are fully adapted to the euro, which they use to their own purposes. They have a strong manufacturing base, but they don't manufacture cheap stuff. They manufacture really expensive stuff like machinery. And the last chancellor, because now it's replaced by a guy called Otto or something, I don't remember the last name, helped to lower the unemployment. So the E is ready. Let's go for the P. 3 to go. Politics. So France B plus, they are growing, as I told you before, and they have a really strong democratic system. But the taxing changes quite often, so the laws. When you are in France, you might see that the laws that applied some years ago doesn't apply now, so that's a problem. Germany, A minus, not even the winner. The winner is Sweden, as you can see. Germany, it's the most powerful country in the European Union, and they are a federal country, which means their regions are autonomous, and they have really strong regions like Bavaria and Westphalia, so it makes them powerful. But as France, they change their rules often. Italy, B, the government is flexible, but sometimes the government is too flexible, meaning corruption. So B. The Netherlands, A minus, they have a great social model. They help their people. It is easy to do business. The unions and the companies have really close relationships. So the unions are not a problem, but they are starting to be to have an issue with unemployment. So A minus. Spain B. As in Germany, they have autonomous regions, which some of them are really prolific, like Catalonia and País Vasco. But the contra is that some of those regions want independency. So you can see that Catalonia and País Vasco have had their they have promoted processes to get away from Spain. So B. Sweden, A, winner. Why is Sweden the winner in the P EPIC framework? Because um, they have a great social model, they have low poverty, and they are really safe. So Sweden is a great country in this aspect. But the problem is that this is sustained over the fact that their taxes are expensive. So if you go to Sweden, you will pay a lot of taxes. But you decide safe country, no poverty, a lot of taxes. That's like everything has a trade-off. Turkey, C plus. You can see why Turkey is a C plus in this picture, which I put here. Erdogan is the president, Erdogan is the prime minister, Erdogan is the press, Erdogan is the army, Erdogan is owns the parliament, and Erdogan owns the constitutional court. So not much of a political free country. And lastly, United Kingdom tied with Sweden with an A. Um, they are really liberal and open to do business, which is good, but the poverty is starting to increase. So P, it's done. So we have done E, we have done P. Let's go for I and C and finish this presentation. Infrastructure. So the winner in infrastructure, there's a super tie because Germany A, Netherlands A, Sweden A, and United Kingdom A. They are really good in infrastructure, but in fact, almost all of Western Europe is good in infrastructure, so it's not surprise. So let's start with France. France has the largest nuclear power, and they have really good roads. But why France is not A but A minus? Because their rails are old and they don't have many seaports, or they are not as fruitful as the one in as the ports in Madrid, in Spain, or in the Netherlands, or in Frankfurt. So A minus. Germany A, they have a dense road network, which almost 100% of the roads are pavimented, which is great, and their ports are also good, but the roads are becoming congested because of the growth of the population. So A. Italy, B minus. They have excellent railways, but the geography is an issue in Italy because they have so many mountains. So B minus. Netherlands, A. They are a world-class logistics center. They use waterways, so you can see shipping in canals, and they are really efficient in customs. So the Rotterdam and Antwerp seaports are really efficient, but their roads are super congested. So if you go to Amsterdam, it is easier to walk or to take a bike because it's impossible to take a car there. So that's the reason why they have an A and not an A plus. Spain, B plus. Good transport, they have great internet, but the rails are not standard. They have a bigger gauge, so they are not compatible to any train. Sweden, the rail is awesome. Almost all of their transportation abroad is done in using maritime transport because they have 2,070. I'm going to write 2,700 kilometers of coast. So they use it to their advantage. What is the problem with Sweden? That they have terrible winters, as Sweden is here. They have terrible winters, and it's not always easy to use their maritime roads. Turkey, the worst, tied with Italy. Turkey has good infrastructure, good roads, and good airports, but the seaports are not that good, and they have really bad neighbors. What do you mean with really bad neighbors? Because they have Iraq on one side and Syria in the other side, so it could diminish their infrastructure due to a future war or terrorism. So it is important to consider. And the United Kingdom, they are really energy-wise, they are really great. They can produce a lot of energy. Their rail system is awesome, but it is becoming a little bit outdated, and it needs to improve again, and that almost always is very expensive. So our almost last, well, we have done with E, we have done with P, we have done with A. Let's finish with C, competence. So France. France, they have well-trained labor, and their logistics are really capable of doing good stuff. But they have a lot of turnover, which means people quit and get hired and quit. So people just they have a high turnover. That's the term in English for that concept. And they have low permanent contracts, so they don't have a stable workforce because of that. So a B, you can see that the best incompetence is the United Kingdom, which we'll talk about later. Germany, A minus. They have good quality technicians in Germany. When a guy graduates from school, they can decide if they want to go into an undergraduate program or a technician program. So they have a lot of technicians which has helped the economy to grow, but they are not that good in higher education. So they are very good with technicians, but they are not that good with professionals. So A minus. Italy, C plus. You can see it's the worst, and you can see they are the worst. Italy, they have good logistics, good productivity, but bad workers. Italians have a fame of being really, really lazy, and I can confirm that they are. So yeah, they are not very competent because of that. Netherlands, A minus. They has they have a great logistics and entrepreneurial spirit, so they want to do business with you, and they are really prone to that. But they are not. They are having a shortage of labor, so there's not, there isn't, there aren't people there to take some jobs. So that's why they are not A, but A minus. Spain, B minus. They have really good training in Spain for low skilled workers, but they don't have enough high skilled workforce. So by B minus. Sweden, A minus. They have the know-how for innovative logistics, which is good, like Volvo and IKEA case, as I told before, but they don't have enough workforce. They need to hire. They need to bring people from abroad to work for them because they don't have the pool of people needed to make the country better. So A minus. Turkey, B minus. They have the best factories in Europe, but they are really good with low-skilled workers, but not with high-skilled workers. They need more education. So Turkey is in the manufacturing side of the economy, and they are lagging behind because they don't have high-skilled workers. And to finish, we have United Kingdom, which was the winner with an A. They have a great supply chain culture, which I love, as I am a specialist in supply chain. The labor cost is not that high for a developed country, which is good. But the only problem with is that they don't have a big industrial productivity. Maybe their factories could improve much more. So thank you very much. This is the bibliography. This exposition was based on the book Global Supply Chains, Evaluating Regions on an Epic Framework, Economy, Politics, Infrastructure, and Competence from McGraw-Hill Education. It was written by Srinivasan, Stank, Dornier, Peterson in 2014. So I took some of that information and some other was on my behalf because 2014 is some time ago. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and muchas gracias.